Hello and welcome to Super Gaming. Thank you so much for joining me, and today we're going to be trying to answer the question, does the Supa Retron HD suck? So, how did we get here? You guys may or may not be aware, about a month ago my trusty old Super Nintendo went south on me and stopped working. So I posted a little video on here and basically sort of said to you guys, what experience do you have with sort of clone consoles? What would you do if you were sort of in my shoes sort of thing? Because I love playing the Super Nintendo. I don't want to sort of resort to sort of hardcore emulation, although I'm not against emulation at all. So it certainly has its purpose. But I kind of want to play on a console, you know, with my cartridges sort of thing. And I weighed up a few options. The first option that I thought was going to be the Superboy, which is like kind of in a way a handheld version of this. But the thing with that was it's over £100, and would the gimmick of us having a handheld Super Nintendo sort of wear off after a couple of weeks? And a couple of other people sort of weighed in with the idea that may well be the case. And I kind of thought, do I play a lot of games handheld? And to be totally honest, I've got a Switch down there. I never play that handheld, so what chance is there that I'm actually going to play a Super Nintendo handheld after the first sort of initial couple of weeks? So I soured slightly on that and sort of thought maybe the Retron 5. And a couple of people said the Retron 5 is really good. I've had a friend in sort of real life that actually knows sort of thing that had one that said it was really good. However, I own a lot of the consoles that sort of does, so I wasn't totally sure, with it being about £150 they are. Would I be getting sort of good value for money? And if I don't like it, that's a lot of money to sort of sink on something that sort of maybe isn't exactly what I wanted. So I went with the sort of angle that I was potentially going to get the Super Nintendo fixed, or buy a yellow machine and sort of switch them over, because mine's probably above average for grey sort of thing, if you know what I mean. And then this popped up on eBay, and this is a Supa Retron HD, and this isn't new. This cost £40 second hand, and I said to my sensible adult, what do you think about giving this a go? This has a few positives, I'm hoping, which we'll hopefully get to in a minute. This has a few positives over me just repairing the Super Nintendo, because this should in theory play Japanese and American games. And quite a while ago I purchased a little bundle. I think it was about 8 Japanese Super Nintendo games, and there's a couple of them that wouldn't play. And I knew that prior to buying them, that there was a couple of them that I didn't think would play, but I still wanted them anyway, sort of thing, with the intention of thinking I'd probably end up with a Super Famicom at some point or something else that will play them, and I'm hoping this is it, but I haven't checked yet. So I thought I'd take a punt on this. A £40, I said to my sensible adult, what's the worst that can happen? If this absolutely sucks, it will be going back on eBay for about 40 quid again, and hopefully there's someone out there as crazy as me that wants one of these that will pay the 40 quid, and then I've not really lost much, you know? So today I'm going to show you what actually comes in the box. So first things first, you've got the console itself, which has got a very sort of similar design to the Super Nintendo. So power, eject, reset. In the front, one of the important things with these Retron consoles is you can use the original pads. I'm kind of fussy with controllers, to be honest. I don't really like pretty much all sort of aftermarket secondary sort of controllers that I've tried. This, in theory, should let me play with my original Super Nintendo pad, so I shouldn't be losing out there. On the back of this, I don't know if you'll be able to make this out, there's a little switch underneath, just there, which is NTSC to PAL. So I can basically switch it from sort of playing PAL and NTSC games. And then on the back, you've got a micro USB input. That's for the power. Now, if you were to buy this, I think in America it comes with a power thing. It comes with a mini HDMI lead, but in this country you have to run it off a little one of these, which is like an old sort of phone USB plug thing. Yes. Then you've got a HDMI output, which is quite interesting. And then your standard sort of AV outputs. Sorry, there's another switch on the back, which is 16.9 and 4.3. I'm pleased to say that the previous owner has left it on 4.3, which means, yeah, that will never ever be getting switched. So yes, so that's the system. I'm yet to try it. I'm hoping that this works. Although that said, if this didn't work, you'd be watching a video of I bought a broken console on eBay. And that hopefully isn't this video. I'll find out later. It comes with instructions, which I'm gonna do a typical old school thing and not read. And a little card, which is basically just their advertising. Play well, thank you for your purchase and support, Hyperkin. It's got all their deets on. It comes with its own 2 controllers. Now, I had a little look at this, and they don't seem too bad, if I'm honest. So for aftermarket controllers, kind of similar to the original. Yeah, that doesn't feel too bad. It's got 2 of those, so that's the first one. And the second one, I don't believe has been used because it's still in a baggie and it's still got the cable all sort of tied up. So it looks new, which is cool. I like that. So, I mean, a worst case scenario, they could end up being spares. I don't know. I haven't tested anything yet. So. And then you've got a box with some cables in at the bottom. And in this box, you've got a micro USB cable, which is for the power, which I need to plug into the little brick thing. You've got a HDMI cable, which, yeah, you obviously know what that is. And then you've got, which also looks unused, you've got an AV cable. Oh, which is unused, it's still actually sealed in the back. So, there, if you make that out. Yep. So there you go. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this console is I want to test the compatibility, because like I said, I've got a couple of Japanese games that I've never been able to play that I really, really want to play. And I'm going to test 8 games, which I'm going to clean using a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip, so hopefully they'll all fire up, sort of without any hassle sort of thing. And yes, so there you go. And I'm going to go do that. I'll see you in probably about an hour. So here I am with the Supa Retron HD. I've just wired it all in. This is actually technically my office, and I've been using this as a sort of place to test PS2 games in the past when I used to collect PlayStation 2 games. As you can see, there's a PlayStation 2 plugged in the back and a really kind of old sort of LCD telly sort of thing. So I should probably just turn the sound down. There we go. And we're going to test 8 cartridges, literally just to sort of check the compatibility of this and sort of see where we are. The first game that we're going to check is Super Mario World, because that's, to me, one of the best games ever made. So this is a PAL cartridge. I've got the machine turned to PAL, so hopefully... You're going to come on? Ooh, okay. So there we are, straight off the bat, Super Mario World appears to be working as it should. Next game we're going to try is another one of my favourites, and that's Super Celeste. Okay, looks like we're 2 for 2, that's good. I tell you what, you probably can't tell on the video. The picture quality is actually pretty good, to be honest. So I'm actually slightly surprised. It's better than I was expecting. And this controller is actually better than I expected as well. So the next game that we're going to be testing is Starwing. This is the FX chip, which has got the pins at the side. I don't know on this one. This one may be the first one that it trips up on. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Come on, you want to work. Oh, it does. Okay. And will it start up and run as it should? That looks pretty good. So we'll find out. It looks like it's gonna. So I absolutely suck at this game, by the way, so there's a switch on the bottom of the machine which switches it from PAL to NTSC. I've just switched it to NTSC, and we are going to try a game that I've never played, a game that I only purchased last week for this very reason, to actually see whether this thing will play anything. I bought an American game because I had no American games in my collection, so just for testing from Retromania, I purchased Wheel of Fortune. So will this work? Let's hope so. And yes, it appears we are 4 for 4. I've now got some Japanese games that I want to test on it. The first one is one of my favourite games on the system, and that's Bomberman 2. Now, this worked perfectly fine on my Super Nintendo when I used the Action Replay cartridge. So hopefully this will work on here. Please. Yes. We're doing well. This is 5 in a row. We're looking good on this. So there you go. So yeah, let's go with a normal game. Yeah, works perfectly. I like that. And next up, another game that's absolutely awesome. We are going to test F-Zero. This worked perfectly fine as well using my Action Replay cartridge. So hopefully we have the same outcome as Bomberman 2. So it just takes a couple of seconds for it to come on. But, oh yeah, straight in. Brilliant. Oh yeah. And now we have 2 games that I bought in a bundle quite a while ago. Bundle of Japanese games. This is Super Street Fighter 2. Now this wouldn't work on my other system with the Action Replay cartridge. So will it work on here? I do not know. I'm hopeful though. Go on. Yes. Okay. Oh, this is awesome. Yes, I am. I am really surprised actually. Can I get anything to work? Yes, I can. It's been a while, people. So. And then last but certainly not least, another one of my games that I've not been able to play because it won't work through the Action Replay cartridge. This is Fatal Fury Special, and yeah, fingers crossed. If this works, I'll be amazed. If we get 8 for 8, I will be absolutely amazed. So, because this knew that the cartridge that I was trying to trick it into thinking it was a Japanese machine, so. No way. This is, out of all of them, this is the one I didn't think would work. I had a funny feeling Starwing might have a problem. I didn't think this would work. And I wasn't sure about Street Fighter 2. Super Street Fighter 2. Oh, yeah. Terry Bogard. Yes, so that was the compatibility test for this, the Supa Retron HD. And I'm pleased to say it handled everything that I had to throw at it. Now, that's not to mean that it's going to play every single cart, to be totally honest, because I can't test every single cart. I only have quite a small selection of cartridges, but it played everything that I've got that I thought may cause it a problem. I'm really pleased to say. I've also, last night, tested it on the TV behind me, and this TV behind me hates old systems sort of thing. There's a couple of systems I can't even play on this because of how bad they look. Like the N64 on this is not playable. So it doesn't matter what you do to it, it just does not like it. Normally, I'd put the Super Nintendo through this, into this through a HD upscaler sort of thing and use it sort of via HDMI. So this sort of cuts that out because it's got the upscalery thing built into it. So this goes straight in with HDMI. And I'm really, really surprised to say this, like natively running the HDMI through sort of thing, looks better than when I used to upscale the Super Nintendo. However, I would say there are a couple of little quirks with it. So when you initially load it on sort of thing, there's a couple of seconds at the beginning where it doesn't have an output sort of thing before it sort of loads the cartridge. And I noticed it on Super Aleste, I think it was. I think it says Toho Presents or something like that at the beginning. When running it through HDMI, it cuts it off because it sort of loads a couple of seconds after. When I run it with the composite cable, the AV cable, and the CRT, it doesn't cut anything off. It runs sort of from the beginning, and you get the Toho Presents type thing. So that's a little quirk, but that's certainly not a deal breaker. And the other thing I would say, when running through the HDMI, the sound seemed very slightly brighter than the Super Nintendo, like the original Super Nintendo, because that's got quite a sort of rich, earthy tone, and that seemed a little bit brighter. But again, when put through the CRT television, the sound was gorgeous. So yeah, I would say the picture on the CRT was close. It's kind of hard for me to judge without actually having a Super Nintendo to compare it directly against, but maybe in the future, at some point, I'll come across a Super Nintendo and I'll buy another original console. Then we will probably do a side-by-side comparison of these machines and see how they are. But to be totally honest, I was half expecting going into this video that I'd be telling you guys that this is a piece of trash and don't buy one and it's hot garbage and that I'm going to be putting it back on eBay. That couldn't be further from the truth. This thing is kind of really good. Yeah, it sort of shocks me in a way to say. But yeah, it's handled everything I've thrown at it. It looks relatively decent on this telly, which the Super Nintendo looked relatively mediocre, to be honest, but that's down to the telly, and you know, your mileage may vary. You know, all TVs handle sort of signal like that differently. Yeah, and on the CRT, it is very close. If you say the Super Nintendo's a 10, this is probably a 9 sort of thing. Way closer than I was expecting. I was expecting this to kind of be hot garbage. Can't be further from the truth. And controller-wise, the two controllers that come with it are definitely serviceable. They're decent controllers. You could definitely use them in a pinch as secondary controllers. Again, if a Super Nintendo controller is a 10, they're probably a 9. It's close, but not quite original. But the original controllers in this, I tested 2, work perfectly. I wouldn't know the difference. I wouldn't know that I wasn't playing on a Super Nintendo when I'm holding that Super Nintendo controller, and everything is sort of, yeah, everything's playing pretty much as it would. So this is, I'm going to give this a Supa Pants Gaming seal of approval, and I'm quite surprised. I really like this. I think that, yeah. So to answer the question, does it suck? No, it doesn't, and I'm a little bit surprised at that, as I've said. For £40, yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And this video is technically going to end up being a day late because last night, testament to how much I enjoyed that, I played it for about 4 hours. I know I said I'd be back in an hour, but this is actually the day after because I just sat playing it last night. I played through about 15 games, well, not all the way through, but I played about 15 games on it, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it exactly how I would a Super Nintendo. So is it as good as a Super Nintendo? Probably not, but for compatibility purposes and the fact that it looked relatively alright in this telly, I am more than happy to have that as my main sort of machine for playing Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games. So thank you very much, people. Hope that wasn't too waffly. It probably was, but anyway, remember, you're awesome. I've been Soup, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Hello and welcome to Supa Pants Gaming. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we're going to be asking.